Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, and everyone in between, it is I, the most electrifying man in modern medievalism, Stelios of Memphis on yours, and I'm joined by the lovely Lila Oksana, and today we are branching out. We are getting away from the SCA-related material with this, yet it's still relevant to that.
Because y'all are nerds.
Fucking nerds. We are going to talk about...
Oh, I wanted us to take a couple of podcasts and talk about a thing I ran across several years ago, and it's just proven relevant every step of the way. Have you ever heard of the Geek social fallacies?
No.
There's 5 of them. And I figured we could talk about each one in turn, discuss a little bit about what it is, what it means, where we've seen it, and, well, what we can do, you and I, but everyone else out there who cares, to combat against it.
Okay, so what's the first one?
So the first Geek social fallacy, and I'm reading these off of the website plausiblydeniable.com, because they seem to have, like, the biggest explanation and well-rounded explanation for each one. Geek social fallacy number 1 is called Ostracizers are evil. And this is one of the most common fallacies, and it's one of the most deeply held in geek social circles. A lot of people who consider themselves to be nerds and geeks and are into nerdy, geeky things, they've had some really bad experiences growing up with being ostracized and bullied. And so the idea of being someone who in turn turns around and bullies and ostracizes is like, it's like a big bad thing. You don't do that. Never ever, you know?
You can't vote anybody off the island.
Right, because, you know, then you're just as bad as the people who harassed you to begin with.
Bullshit.
That's the thing, though. Like, Socially Plausible goes on to say that in this non-pathological form, fallacy number 1 is benign, and it can even be commendable because it is past time that we all grew up and stopped with the junior high popularity games. However, in its pathological form, this fallacy prevents its carrier from participating or tolerating the exclusion of anyone from anything. And this is including, you know, parties, comic book fan club, a bookstore, a web forum, all the other different groups, video game groups, Twitter, all sorts of stuff. All sorts of stuff. The problem is that this is irrelevant to how obnoxious, offensive, or toxic a person is. And Plausibly Deniable goes on to say, as a result, nearly every geek social circle of significant size has at least one member that 80% of the members hate, and the remaining 20% merely tolerate. If social fallacy 1 exists in sufficient concentration, and it usually does, it is impossible to expel a person who actively detracts from every social event. The protocol for this fallacy permits you to not invite somebody you don't like to a given event, but if someone spills the beans and our hypothetical cat piss man, I think that's a reference back to other things the website's talked about, it invites themselves, there's no recourse. You have to put up with them, or you will be the evil ostracizer and might as well go out for the football team.
As someone who played high school football, I find that offensive.
It's the example they use. But yeah.
I feel what they're talking about, and it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, this phenomenon has a number of unpleasant consequences. It actively hinders the wider acceptance of geek-related activities. Like, we don't know if our nerdy hobbies would be more acceptable to popular mainstream if there were, less, I quote, trolls who smell of cheese hassling the new blood, unquote. But you never know. It probably wouldn't hurt. And also, it stops social selectiveness from being able to be discussed in public. You have to start actively hiding your activities to keep your, you know, hypothetical cat piss person from showing up to your stuff. And that's going to cause a lot more drama and problems along further down the line. The fact that you have to basically lie by omission or actively lie in order to enjoy your social events so that the people that no one likes but are just the missing stairs that gets tolerated doesn't show up. It's just a big-ass problem. It frankly is.
Yeah.
So, in its benign form, yeah, don't ostracize people needlessly, don't bully. But in its pathological form, this stops people from being held accountable for their shitty behavior.
You know, most of the time when we talk about this stuff, we talk about the SCA. But I'm going to step outside of that. Let's talk about tabletop gaming,
Yeah.
video gaming, things of that nature. And
it absolutely applies to the SCA, but it applies to every social group.
Absolutely. I mean, I've encountered this kind of behavior because, I used to play a lot of online video games, and I used to frequent a lot of online forums, and you'd always have that one person on these forums that was always saying either something racist, something sexist, something just completely out of line, like, dead baby jokes. I hate those. And, they were doing anything and everything they could to be edgy, but the powers that be would simply tolerate them because this is a place that is full of people who have spent most of their life in the outside world, if you will, being ostracized. So now that they're here, they deserve a place where they feel safe. I'm sorry, but if your attitude and your actions are only detrimental to the group, I don't think you should be here.
Yeah, a lot of people have trouble feeling that way because of what you just said. So much of the outside world has been awful to them that they feel like it would be wrong for them to turn around and do that to other people. And I understand where that emotional thing is coming from, but that's just it. It's emotional. It's a feeling. And feelings, we can't really control how we feel. The only thing we can control is how we react to our feelings and whether or not we allow our feelings to decide our choices. Don't ever let your feelings decide your choices. Because feelings are shit. They make no sense. They're absolutely illogical. Like, take them into account? Sure. It's a flag telling you something's going on, but it shouldn't be the way you make choices. Especially not by flying off the handle at people. I mean, that's just, it's immature. That is the reaction of a child who doesn't have the neural networks yet to behave like a freaking person. I don't know how else to say. I don't know how to say it.
I get what you're putting down.
So it's like, I understand where you're coming from, that you don't want to reject people, but that desire to be, like, truly inclusive and accepting and helpful shouldn't allow genuinely toxic people who don't regret their behavior to continue being toxic and ruining it for everyone else.
I mean, if you've got a pond and you've got a dead fish floating in your pond, stinking up the place, it's okay to take the dead fish and throw them out.
Yeah. And, still, with the whole feelings side about it, I get how people who are genuinely, like, concerned and caring people will worry about what's going to happen to this dead fish person when you chuck them out of the D&D pond. Like, are they going to be okay? Are they going to hurt themselves? Okay, I understand that too, but at some level, please understand that not everyone is your responsibility.
Facts.
Like, if you genuinely want to help this person, this dead fish person, hypothetical dead fish person, catfish person, but they don't take any of your help and they just want to whine and flail and be catered to, they don't want to be fixed.
Nope, and you've done your due diligence.
Don't be the person that pours yourself into an empty cup, because then you're both going to be empty and they still smell like cat pee and are ruining the pond. For everyone else. This might be a case of the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. And it's not saying that people with genuine issues shouldn't get the help that, that can be given to them. So it's really a big, squishy, scary gray area.
I mean, I really just don't have a whole lot of tolerance for that particular brand of fuckery. But,
I'm finding that my tolerance for that is pretty much near zero at this point, too.
Good.
And part of me feels almost a little bad for that, because I know that there are people who genuinely have, mental health issues or were abused, and it's just they don't know how to not be toxic. So it's like, I want those people to get the help that they deserve, but I know I'm not the best person to do that. I'm not a counselor. I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a mental health expert. It's not for me to play, Captain Save-A-Fish and stretch myself out to help these people.
Tag me in, I'll do it.
I mean, that's kind of what you do professionally anyway. You've got the training and the experience to know how to help someone that's having issues in a crisis. I don't. If the kitchen's on fire and I don't know how to use an extinguisher, I'm getting the fuck out of the kitchen. And letting somebody with an extinguisher get in there to do their job. Like, but I'm also not going to go in there and set small fires to heroically put them back out again.
That sounds like something else we could talk about at a later time.
That's true.
But we have reached our 10-minute mark, and I think it's time. This is a good place for us to stop. This was episode 1 of our series on Geek Social Fallacies, courtesy of Lila.
Yeah.
And we're going to be doing more of these.
Yeah. If you guys have questions or concerns or thoughts about this particular social fallacy, by all means, hit us up in the comments below. Shoot us a DM if you don't want it to be a public discussion. We're always up for letting you bend our ear just a little bit, but not too hard, damn it. I got other things to do.
And if you want to leave like hateful comments in the comment section, do that too, because I love making fun of y'all.
Yeah, he does. He lays in bed and giggles about it.
I do. The salt must flow.
It goes good on the popcorn.